put to the Americans about it is, you got so carried away, you did not test that it was the wire you sent to the Russians. Russians made another wire, looked the same, Central hold it, they tested it, and then they sent it back. It wasn't the same wire as the Americans they thought they sent. It's you understanding, but not getting carried away with the knowledge in the piece you understood, that you can learn more to add more with it. Have you managed to fix your camera yet?
I'm not sure. I came back on. I haven't changed any settings. I'll see if I can share video. See if you can see me anyhow.
Rick, can you allow him, please?
Yeah, it looks like it should have a go ahead there. You
want me to hit share screen?
No, I want you to hit video, start video.
All right.
Not share screen. You should not be hitting share screen.
Share video.
You can't
just click on the camera. Just click on the camera.
Just click on start video, and what do you get?
It says you can't share your video because the host has stopped.
You got to be promoted.
He's already promoted, and there's no.
Oh no! I found it, Rick. It should be
there's something else. Okay.
Yeah, try again, Bernard.
Yes.
All right. Good. Thanks, Vince.
Bingo. All right.
So Apple needs some time resetting. It resets internally.
Okay. I'll just grab the container of it. I'm in my kitchen here. I'll grab my container. I'll just show you what's happening.
Please.
I'll explain what I've done in more detail after. I do have a pin here. I can show it.
You're in the dark. Could you light up? We only see dark glass light on it.
This should be better.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We see your beautiful face.
Yeah, I don't look as old now. I'll just wipe this off and.
You have to bring it up that we can see it. We don't see it.
Can you see this?
Yes.
I'm going to put a light through this, whether it helps or not. You see the hollow space in the center here?
Where? You mean those punches, the little holes?
Well, the ones on each side, those are frozen. Those are frozen plasma balls. Those solid state that I told you I built. That you can see.
Yes.
You see the fields inside now. Now it's starting to melt. That's not even frozen in there. Look at this. It's coming out of the container already. Let's have a quick look here. What do we got? Bingo. Isn't that cool?
This is beautiful.
Look at that. That inside, the inside, I don't know if there's even water. It may have pushed everything to the sides, but we've got rotation between the two balls here.
Can you spin that around, please, Bernard? Just to slowly.
There you go. You can see them. And there's this. There's one of them is a CH3 on the outside, CH3 on the last layer, and the other one is a
yes. Let me explain to you. We done as most of you done. We put the pen, the paint pen through water. We have a guy who's expert in this here in Italy.
It's the only way you can see the fields.
We've seen the single field. Now we see the interaction of two fields.
Yes, you've got alkaline and acidic here. And I was wondering if you stuck one ball in your solid state coil of alkaline and the other ball of acidic in the other coil, you should get a heartbeat between the two with the rotation. Would that work?
Repeat again that we understand, please.
I'll put this away because it's dripping quite a bit.
Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you very much. Could you explain again what you just said?
If you were to take an alkaline ball in one coil in your solid state, the pictures that you showed, and if you were put an acidic ball in the other coil, between the two of them, there would be a communication there. That would create a heartbeat, would it not? It's just a thought.
Yes, that's what we do.
If you had,
That is part of it, but maybe the media of the water will create that gap resistance capacitance which we need for it.
if you submerge that in water,
Could you test it? Could you test it for us and show it to us next week?
If I submerge it in a mixture of Gans water, the whole setup, I could do the 2 coils and put a ball in each and submerge it in water. Now, what would that?
We don't know. Open it up.
Okay.
It makes a beautiful picture, because what you showed us is very important, because it's for the first time we see the flow of fields. We can freeze them.
Yeah, they're pretty fantastic.
We can see them. We know our people here in Italy do it as part of showing magnetic field. This ice block, the way you see it, or you shown, when we use it in respect to the pen pens and the pen pads, opened the door with a lot of scientific work in Italy, because for the first time they could see there is some reactions, because that's how they do it. They put it in the freezer, and it started the ball rolling. And it is a very good idea. It's beautiful, because now we see liquid plasma condition. I'm sure if you put the water of the GANs in these balls without actually the GANs or dried, you should see the same structure.
Of course. I'm working on something else. I've basically been freezing a lot of stuff, but I'm working on some other stuff right now with.
Where do you live?
I'm in Canada here. I'm in East.
No wonder you work with ice so good.
Yeah, Mr. Cash, also Bernard works with maple syrup. In fact, he has some of the best maple syrup, perhaps. Isn't that true, Bernard?
Yeah, it came out really good this year. I don't make much. It's more of a hobby. I almost didn't want to tap my trees. I started late and I said, Lord. But anyhow, I did. I used smaller spouts. I didn't go very deep.
Can you explain to us how you make maple syrup, or how do you get the maples out of the tree?
And also explains how you get GANs of maple syrup. That would be good.
Yeah, that's coming along real nice. It was floating. Now it's settling to the bottom. I'm going to continue and start to rinse that. That would be an amazing sugar. This is why I thought, because the stuff I make is pure as you can get it. A lot of the companies will add sugar to their sap. It gives them a bigger volume, but it's not pure. And you can tell the difference when you taste it.
I know. I've been in Canada. I had your maple syrups. But how do you make, could you explain to us how you make maple?
I've got about 200 taps, and I just have lines because I'm on the side of a mountain here, and the gravity sends them down into a container. And then I put them into I've got a 6-foot pan, a stove I built, and I boil the sap until it comes down to a certain consistency. I take it off at about 216 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you got to be careful, because it varies with the elevation. I'm almost 1,000 feet above sea level here, so that would drop the boiling point. Things can get sticky when the pressure drops too. If you get low pressure system, the boiling point's lower. You get to know it after 20 years. But they just boil down, and then I filter it twice when it's reduced, and then I finish it off and I run it through another set of filters so it comes out clear, and you bottle it at about 218, 19 degrees. I don't know
how do you make a GANs of it?
I use some caustic, and I put it in. I threw some caustic in it. I used a bit of hot water at the start. I let it sit for a day, and then I added a bit of vinegar in there. I let that sit for a day, and then I put some dry caustic and started to heat again, and then the separation began to happen. I've done the same with the salt, and I've got the iodine.
Can you repeat the process again?
Oh, for the sugar, for the maple syrup?
No, for making the GANs of it.
Making the GANs, I put the product in a jar, some of it, and then I put some dry caustic. I just shook some inside of it, and I put some hot water in to get it going at first. I leave that settle for a day or so. And the next day, what I did is I added some vinegar to it, shook it up, and then added a little bit more dry caustic on top. And then it started to heat up and work again. At that point, it began to separate.
I missed, you put vinegar in it?
I put a little vinegar between caustic.
You just put it in the jar.
Right in, and it separates. Yeah, it sort of releases the structure somehow. And then at that point, I add a little bit more dry caustic, and it will start the action of heating up. Not super hot, but enough. Then things start to separate, and they'll float on top. And I just leave them act for a day, and then you add a little bit of water to it. Bring your jar up, and then you see things moving.
Well, you get two different kind of gases, one on the top and one on the bottom?
No, it won't start on the bottom. It starts at the top, and then I add more water and shake it a bit, and it'll start to descend slowly. Right now, it's about halfway in the jar. And
so everything descends to the bottom of the jar?
Yeah, then I'll start the rinsing process.
And washing it. And what do you do with it?
Oh, I don't know. I thought I'd make this Gans so I could apply it with what you've taught us, and to bring the acidity levels up, being that it comes direct from the tree, probably one of the purest forms of sugar you can get. And
can we have some, please? It's about if you keep it in liquid state, maybe it'll bring a rapid increase in acidity and the gravitational move.
Yeah. It carries all the fields. I mean, the tree's got everything in it. And
I was going to ask Bernard, do you start the process with the sap hot, or do you start the process after it's been bottled?
Oh, it's after it's been bottled. I just opened a bottle and I dumped some in the bottom of a jar and threw some dry caustic on top of it. I added a bit of water. I did add some water in the bottom with that. And then I put some hot water. Well, the water I added was the hot water, actually. You know, I threw the dry caustic in with the syrup, and then right away I had the hot water ready, and I dumped some in. Yeah, be careful, you'll bust the jar. But I put some in, and then it foamed up quite readily. Got very dark. Left that sit overnight, and then proceeded. Next day, I dropped some vinegar into it. I wasn't too shy with the vinegar. I put a bit and shook it up, and then I added some dry caustic on top, so it worked again. Then you can add a bit of water if you want. It starts to separate.
What color does it turn into?
It is black. You can't see. You need a flashlight to see that it's starting to separate. But now I've got a color change. I've added more water after I showed Rick it the other night.
Could we see it? Could you please show us if you can?
Sure. It's a good thing I live alone. My kitchen's a lab. I've moved everything downstairs, but I still seem to bring everything back upstairs when I work. Can you see this?
It's all black, yeah.
Can
you put a light behind it? Because I think I can see some separation in the middle, right?
It's very thick black.
Yeah, the light doesn't even go through it.
No.
So you can see what's going on here. Can you see something now? There you go. You see it there? It's floating in the center. It's very dark. But after you start to rinse it, a food Gans will do the same, like if a mixture of food, but after the rinsing process.
Try putting the light right up against the jar. See if it'll light it up that way.
Oh, here we go. Bingo.
Go a bit more to the left. Yep. And can you go down with a light that we can see the structure?
See, it's starting to drop. And I have some space on top, which is good, because now I can see it's beginning to descend. When it hits the bottom, I'll start to rinse it. And then it'll get lighter after we rinse it. The darkness will leave.
But can you check after you rinse it, when it goes light, hold the water of the rinse and see if you see any black particles at the bottom of it. Just don't throw it away.
That'll be, I never throw anything away. I'll do exactly that. I've got some iodine if you'd like to see that.
Please, it'll be nice. While he's getting the jar, let me explain to you. He said that he'd moved everything down and he brought it back up. In Canada, most of the houses have an empty floor downstairs. They leave it as everything else, but living bodies is there. So they have a full apartment in the basement, and they hardly use it for different things. That's why he moved it back up again in the kitchen.
It gets a lot. I've got 3 stories in the front. I'm on the side of a mountain here. I'm a framer, carpenter, so I got a little bit carried away.
Yes. Can you bring it more in camera? You're on the left. You got to come toward your face. Yeah. And what is this one? Iodine. How did you make this?
You can see the fields underneath here. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yes.
You can see the power of this. You can hardly smell it. I mean, this is really strong. But
how do you make it? How did you make it?
The same way I did everything else. The same way I did with the syrup.
Where did you get the material to make it?
I just used some iodine, regular
metal iodine. Ah, okay.
And with it's 5% iodine. It says on the bottle. It's for medicinal purposes, I guess. But I put it in the bottom, and I went ahead and I put a bit of water in that, and then dumps. Well, I didn't put water. What I do is put some caustic in it, and I dumped the water, and it just it really foamed up and started to work, and then floated to the top, and basically I did the same things I did with syrup, and I've done the same with the salt. As you can see.
Yes, thank you very much. I can see it. Remember what we said, the iodine or any other material you make, copper or zinc, from a plate, the gans of it, is very much different than the iodine you get from vegetables or animal flesh. If you're working in a condition, especially this goes to our people who make the systems for health purposes. If you use iodine the way you've done from a matter state, it'll never match the iodine you get or you extract or you develop from the trees or plants or the animals. You get a much more effective performance if you are targeting for application in health than you're creating conditions for production or extraction of matter states. This is very, very important, and I have emphasized on this a few times, because if you are using iodine for even the elevation of the soul of the man in conjunction with cesium background X-ray and gamma rays and cosmic rays which comes from it, when you use the animal or plant's iodine extract, you are working at the level which is already in the level of the amino acid, so you're directly in it. You have to understand the principle behind it. When you use iodine the way you do from the matter state, it has not gone through the stage level that which isotopes of iodine will match to the human or the amino acid of the man. As we are getting more and more educated in these things, we have to consider these things very closely, very closely. Are we using iodine for what purpose? Are we looking to create the fields of it that we can create matters to make other things with it? Or are we using it for the health applications or the food application? Then we have to understand the process is already digested, the process is already purified. A specific strength iodine which matches the amino acid of the man has been selected in the process of the creation of the leaf or the muscle. So you're directly in it. When you use, like you, iron material matter state, is totally different, absolutely different. Than you cannot, I will not use, you can still use it, but I will not use the iodine you have on a coil or a core which is to be used for the health applications.
Okay.
So this goes back to Klaus and the others in the background who work on the doctors who make their own systems. This has to become very clear. I pointed this out last week in a couple of teachings.
How do we extract iodine from other?
Very easy.
This is the key.
No.
For example, sorry, I've heard that Himalayan salt has up to 5% iodine in it. Would that be a good place to get it, or what were you going to explain?
Yeah, let me explain to you what you do. There are different ways. As we add to the knowledge, we have to understand the process, not just to follow. If you understand the process, then you can play games with it. The process is you can do the same as the gentleman showed us how to make gold. You go through the same process. But in that process, you use a combination. Can I share a screen and then I can explain? You have to stop sharing.
Okay.
You saw Peter putting one coil. You saw Peter putting one coil and then putting another coil and rotating the two either way, opposite or the same. And then he put a gold GaNs there. Now you have brought a specification in that way. What you can do, you can go and find, let's say, organ of the body of the man which is heavy in iron, let's say brain, and you place the what do you call that GaNs in this position. This will give you the opportunity. Now you are fractionalizing it. This with this created a field which this has given a boundary of the what you need. With this you collect what it fits into the human body. And at this point you collect the GaNs which is of the strength you need for a human elevation of the soul or emotion. Something which you have to remember, which is maybe overlooked, is why we have iodine a lot in the brain, but in other places, because every cell carries a soul. So you have this in every part of the body of the man. The collective soul strength creates the soul of the man in totality. So you have the same thing. You run two reactors. These two reactors, you brought the condition of iodine, which is its matter state, is a composition. And then by introducing the amino acid and iodine from vegetables or whatever, now you dictate narrowing it totally to what you need. And you can literally collect it. And this iodine, if you, for example, place a water, pure water, in this position, the iodine you collect here, the iodine you collect here in the water is the iodine you can use for elevation, pure for the elevation of the soul of the man. It's filtering, filtering, and filtering. But now we are learning plasmatic filtering. But you can do everything in one position. Otherwise, you have to create the GaNs of the iodine which you collected in respect to these here, and then load up these again with pure iodine. Then you place this one in here and you collect pure iodine of the soul. It takes longer, but it gets more purified. And it comes exactly to the bandwidth. You can create the strength of the iodine of the soul of a cow. You can create the iodine that creates the strength of the soul of the man. One day you understand what I just said, but it takes time. These are the methods of working with the liquid plasma. You have to learn. You have to understand. And you want iodine of the plasma of the soul of the cow, you can do it because it has a different frequency, different strength. And that's why it became a cow. Understand the strength of the field of the soul dictates the manifestation of the physicality of the entity.
Mr. Keshe, Doug had asked earlier, will we find or see the creator directly inside the plasma?
If you reach the state of the level of the strength of the soul of the creator, yes. Not many have. You have to elevate to the strength of the universal condition, and then elevate into the passing of the what we call understanding of total knowledge of the unicos, which is beyond the understanding of the man. The knowledge we have is so little, and we ask to understand the totality, which is at this knowledge, at this present time. We're trying to teach the plasma, and we see the problem which people are creating, supposed to be the professors of the science of the man. Now you try to explain the strength of the level of an understanding of the soul of the creator. He is pure, is kind, and is a giver. Any other question?
We've got some questions from Francois about his. Let me see. There's one. What if my capacitors are made out of plastic tube with a different GANs inside, with a small coil inside, with a big coil on top of it? And
You can't make anything.
He says his capacitors are also circular as well.
You can't make anything. That's the extension of the knowledge. You can make plasmatic only capacitors. You can make field capacitors, but you have to understand it. Field capacitors are like the atmosphere of the planet. And if you understand that, then you can see you can produce anything without. The field capacitance of the atmosphere of the Earth in respect to the atmosphere of the solar system, in respect to the capacity, the strength of the galaxy, creates the field strength which Earth can absorb from the universe and beyond it. You can do. You don't need matter state. Matter state, in the strength of the amino acid of the man, is very, very limited. Very, very limited. But if you understand the structure in the universal condition, is beyond imagination. As man evolves in understanding now of the work of the universe, you start seeing more and more. And you get enlightened, you understand the work of the fields, and then you bring the extension. The only problem you have, I explained this one to the meeting of Universal Council yesterday. It's you who puts limitation on the enlightenment. When you receive, you do not share. You create the feeding. It's literally me putting a plate full of food in front of you. It's you who decide to eat it, and you eat it, you receive the nourishment, and then this is the same process. When you get enlightened, share the knowledge. And when you share the knowledge, you receive more because you empty the bottle. It means you have shared, you have more to receive. And as you become more and more man of universal community, you will see this. People strive to serve, to give, because by it they receive more to give more. It becomes an addiction. It becomes a path of life. This is what we call, as a master of the universe, it's our job to teach. And very few men have ever achieved understanding this. Very few. Only one nearly touched on it. Buddha was one and only one. And he understood just about the edge of it, but he couldn't understand any further. You have to understand that by giving, you receive more. I've taught this many times. When you get enlightened, to share, that you want to share, you receive more to share. It's like your father. When you receive, you don't put the money in your pocket. You share it with your children. And the more you share with them, the joy of them gives you more energy to earn more, to give them more, to see them more pleasure. The job of a man, the soul of the man has to be the job of the father, to give more. That he receives more than he gets enlightened. And then the more you enlighten, the more you receive. The wiser you become in the art of giving. Look and understand the totality. Not just so much physicality. And this is the problem with the man. Any other question?
Some people are wondering about the new solid state system. When will that information be shared?
We are very stingy till we don't finish it, we don't share it, but it's time. We showed it for the first time yesterday. In a way, the reason I showed it in the presentation in Washington was to bring the knowledge. What we say we have, we don't go beyond our limitation. I asked a couple of weeks ago from Bernie to start producing miniaturized systems, and you've seen the response. In the coming time, we can go literally to absolute, but you have to understand the connection, the interaction of the fields, what you do, how you do it, and you will start creating systems that more or less these miniature systems become the containment for the free plasma fields. It's the next step into use of plasmatic fields and its interaction and collaboration and cooperation with the other matter states. If we put a little hole in all these nanomaterials of the solid state and empty them from their matter state, that they stay in a state of total plasmatic tubes, you will see the energies beyond your imagination. If those of you who are artisans in the work of the plasma can understand what I explained, and I explained how to deplete the matter state from the plasma and the nano state, you can create condition where you can drain the copper from the central tube of the nanomaterial, and then when you add the pulsation to it, it will work automatically. At the moment, the reason you have a problem is because you have a matter state. You create a traffic jam. That traffic jam has a pulse, needs a pulse. Then you go to the nanopulse, and nanopulse is a game which, if the man understands it, will open new doors of technology. And then, if you understood this and go further into, instead of using nanotube, which are hollow from matter state, to work in the liquid state of the gans of the plasma, which is very much like the blood of the man. Where do you think 18 Hiroshima bomb got stored and gets stored within the soul of the man? It's a huge amount of energy. It's a huge amount of manipulation of energy. But at the moment, we have problem if the binding is right or left hand. In time, I have mentioned this a few times before, if you start learning to deplete the matter state from your coils, you need the wire, you nano coated it, you gas coated it to give it shape. Now, if you manage to master a technique, two ways. You can drill a hole within the structure and pass a huge current to it and literally deplete all the copper out of the coil. Now you have a fully nanotube containment where the copper came out. Now it's a pure plasma field center, huge strength, huge power. Or you can create, the way we said, a condition to transfer the matter state from the central tube out without melting it. You work in the plasma condition. Now you have hollow tubes. It's the way you make casting. If you've done engineering, they teach you how you make a cast. You make the mold, you put the metal in it, and then you take it out, and then you put what you want inside that, and then you melt the cage, and the body stays is the shape. You do the same thing with plasma. You use the matter state to create the shape you like, and then you empty the matter state from the structure. Melting it is one way, you still go through the heat. This process creates a lot of problem because in creating the heat to melt the copper, you deform part of the nanolayer. Or you can use a high current to melt it because the flow of the high voltage current creates the heating of the plasma of the copper matter state, and you can drain it. Or you can create the systems which is very much like the health system. You stand on one side and you create, you put the system in the middle of a microwave with a difference the same as the medical unit, one side higher, one side lower. You empty only the matter state from the structure. Doctors in South America have shown us regarding the brain tumor taking the seed out without opening the brain. So you go to the same process. Let me explain to you what it means. This way you might, then you enter another level of, I cannot clean up. I cannot change my pen, the pen.
Try going over to the tools there. Maybe you can select a different.
I should be able to. Let me close this. Maybe that's why it's blocking. Yeah, that was one. This is the reason. New.
You have to clear your annotations. You're annotating on the documents.
We don't want to save. What you said, please? Can you repeat, Flint?
Yeah, you just have to clear your annotations.
How do I do that?
Menu and clear it. You were annotating on the document instead of drawing on it with paint.
I need a new. There we are. Don't save. We got there.
You have to bring up your annotate menu, and then.
Where do I bring it in?
Your Zoom window. Your Zoom.
On the top.
Window.
No, on the top of this picture, there is something.
There is one here. Share. No.
It will go away if you stop sharing. It went away.
Okay. Till I learn this one, I'll be an old man. I'm already old enough. So what do? You create the same as the health system, a system of a higher strength to a lower strength with a gradient. You put your coil in this system, which is tuned to the same strength of the matter state. You deplete your nano coating from the matter state internally out. You dump it in the salt water or whatever. So now you literally get a hollow snake. You get a tube of nano. And now you play with the fields, not with matter state anymore. Now the resistance, the frequency which you're looking for, 50 Hertz, 60 Hertz, goes through the window. You work on a superconductor, you work on the super materials, and then if you submerge this into the liquid GANs, you enter the work of the galaxies and the universes, because you gain the power, energy, and universe. I think we are about 3 months, 6 months away from this. If the people who get enlightened understand it, they can do it. If you make a hole in your nano coating and heat it up to drain the copper, you have created a hole in your plasma technology of the structure too. So the conversion transformation using gradient of the field is one of the best options. You deplete what you don't need. You can even decide which parts you want to deplete of the matter state. And then you have a capacitors, you have resistors. You can make nanotubes which behave exactly like a full circuitry. A full circuit you have on a microchip, you can create in one nanotube. Nanotubes which we produce have huge applications. You have to understand what a nanotube is. These are the layers of nano, and this is a gap. You have to understand each one of these is a spacing of the atoms of the elements. This middle is a space free because you drain the tube. And then what you can do, you can play in respect layer to layer. What happened? You go with this layer and this layer. The capacitance is different, the strength is different. You can allow, like specifically positioning, this is the copper, make this a zinc, make this aluminum, and then, or place nanomaterials in between the caps. The present transistors, capacitors, microchips, all of what you have, the latest, the most advanced computers, the memory banks, what we buy, terabytes, will fit in the top of the tip of a pen. And much more. Japanese have done this work, but they got lost into it because they were only interested in matter, the laser material. It's known as a cube. Years ago they started it, but financially they don't see it. At the moment you buy the CD-ROMs, you buy the chips. If you get the cubes and nanocube it, you can see that the amount of information you can get in 3 dimensions is unlimited. It's literally unlimited. Nanotechnology, zero-time communication tools and equipments. In the next few years you will see. We laugh why we ever used microchips, why we ever used the present electronic gadgets. You carry more or less everything within the sphere of a nano layer. You have 50,000 layers on top of each other. Each one has its own strength and capacity. How do we make the microchips? We connect lines and lines and lines. At the moment, the strength of the component, number of components has become Moore's law. This is Moore's law, Moore's law, Moore's law, plus Moore's laws in the magnitude of millions. And the size will be the size of the pin. That's why we have glands. Our glands work this way. There's nobody sitting in your gland says this is this, it's copper, this is this. The spacing, automatic system. There is no control system in the body, but if you understand the work of the glands, the work of the brain, this is what it does. We still got a lot to learn, but we have to understand first and then step by step to develop. What I call plasma chips, if you call it, are so powerful, is beyond the imagination of the man. Because of what you do with the plasma chips, as you call it, and it needs to go away. You place a power source in the center of your nano-coated field. Everything position is constantly the same. Does not need a power supply. You don't need to connect it. But because it's the strength of the emotion of what you want to receive, you will run the system exactly there you are. I was explaining this to Caroline yesterday. I said a lot of people will come and tell us their system doesn't work. And I tell them one day why. Maybe today is the day to tell, because a lot of you are working on it. Understand, you're building magravs systems. You're building systems which work on plasma and GANs and nanolayers. You're putting balls in the middle of these stacker units, and now you're creating GANs liquid plasma units. My friend, you have entered into the world of intention. What your intention is to do and what your intention has been to achieve with the generator decides if your generator gives you what you expect from it, because it's aware of your need and if it's not good for you. I had to explain this yesterday to Caroline. Maybe we all get enlightened. We saw a system well designed, working for weeks. We all of them watched. It was brought to United States, to Washington, to the capital city to be shown. From the time it left the house, it met problems. Because the soul of the system knew the man in the state, in the palaces of the power are not ready for it, but they can learn from it. We brought it to Washington. We tried to get it going. The intention of the man who built this piece, but in soul he knows, because he's a man of army, that the men who control the army in Washington have a different intention of the use once they see the power. Even burnt out, it doesn't want to go. It's like a child sitting and holding himself to the tree and the ground. I'm not going out, I'm not coming out, I want to stay home. You all looked at the physicality of the failure of the system. I looked at the soul of the system. I explained this to Caroline last night. With not being delivered, them not seeing the energy unit, but they noticed that they saw the video. It gave the essence of the soul of the man whose intention was that the technology to be used for pieces of it, and we could openly discuss the peace plan on the table. We could explain to the man of power, and we saw how the military immediately on the table responded. Listen to the news, listen to the reading. I'm acting on duty officer. I'm a representative of the American military. We want to talk. We invite you to teach us. The invitation was open. That was the purpose of the generator ever making its way to Washington and never working. Because the soul of the man is aware of the work of the system. You look for dust, I look for the interaction of the dust and what can give. There is an old Persian say, it says, what you see in the pot, I see in the dust of the clay which is made of. Try to understand your systems, why they're not working. Was the intention to show superiority, or was the intention to bring comfort to you and your family and the soul of the structure of your life? Your system does not even need power supply. It will kick in because it sees your need and it needs to satisfy your need. You are too physical. Yesterday and past 2 or 3 days, we had the rampage of physicality. Why the system not working? I stood back and I guided, because I could see the soul of action. I said to Caroline, from the time the system was to move, part left behind, things don't happen. Because the intention was in the hand of Washington, such a power, seeing it will drive them into killing more. But it gave us a chance to open the path of peace. Listen, understand the world of politics and the language of military. I'm an acting military officer. We see the soul, and it's the same with your system. When you build the system from now on, understand it can interact with you. You're dealing with gas, you're dealing with your own essence of creation. Now, the sooner you realize this, you'll find out you don't need generators, as the universe is the source of energy to generate what you need. If you go back and listen to the presentation of last night, in talking to world leaders needs mastering art of politics, diplomacy, and science. And last night we convey all the messages to all three, and they fully understood. And I master because I started it, I know it, and I created it. We play very open, and it creates a lot of problem for a lot of people who see the openness.
Hello, Mr. Cash.
Yeah, just 1 second. I've just received the message. I have to respond. Just 1 second, please. Yes, carry on, please.
Yes, hello from Austria. This is René speaking. I started to produce gold cans a week ago, and I tried some experiments with these rotating spheres, and I noticed that there are many particles in my gold cans bottle, and this picture I want to show if this is okay.
Rick, is it okay with you? You're from Austria.
Yeah, from Austria, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I read something I just received from Klaus. It says, Mr. Cash, setting up generator brought us together very close in Austria. Additionally, we found that we are three groups concentrating on three topics, which are agriculture, energy, and health. Altogether, we see flight and motion. We would work very close to be in one company, producing and researching on different locations. Would it be okay for you? Of course it is. You Austrians have a different approach and mentality, and it's a pleasure to work with you. Carry on. So you're happy with it, Rick?
Yeah, I believe so. We'll just have to stop your screen sharing.
My sharing. Am I the cause of the problem as usual?
No, not at all.
There we are.
Okay.
Okay, I start my screen sharing now.
Yes, please.
Select the window. Okay. This is my gold GANs bottle. It's only a tiny bottle.
You have to wait. Can you? Now we see it for the first time. Can you explain, please, what this is?
Yes.
It looks like an eye.
So I have a small bottle where I collect my my gold GANs, and
Your gold.
no,
Gold.
this is the GANs that I produced from gold.
Gold.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And when I make the picture a little bit bigger, and I notice that there are many particles lying on the bottom of the glass, and I don't know what it is. So it seems that it must be gold, but as I understand the process, I think the gold is not produced in the gold GANs, but in another place. So I have another picture from this glass, and here you can see the particles lying. There are many particles, and they are not so tiny, so you can see it with.
If you made a gas, it's got to be, because not all the particles stay at a gas. Some of them you most probably use a huge amount of heat. So when you come to this position, even the fields which are near the matter state of the gold, they convert to gold. And part of the fields will create this condition and position. It's no problem. Yes, it is. You have made gold, but you started from it. And the fields in that respect can be. And when you make GANs, you separate molecules at the weakest point of the strength in the matter state, and you get flakes of it. And now you see those flakes which separated before the atomic separation comes. It's not the strength. If you test this, it's most probably from the gold which you started. But if you clean it out, wash it, that there is no residue at the bottom, and then you leave it in the cup and you start seeing this created, then this is the production of the field. This is a production of gold from the environment. It's a big difference. Wash your GANs totally, make sure there is no residual. Do not go to the bottom of the GANs.
Yes.
In a different bottle, wash it a few times that you have no possibility of any matter state, and then leave it. And then you see if you start collecting gold or gold particles. Then this is the true gold made out of the environment.
Oh, that sounds pretty good, I think.
Yeah, it is, because this is part of, we see this in nano production of the copper too. But wash this thoroughly. It's beautiful what you've done. Just wash it further.
Yes.
And wash it 2-3 times. Don't go to the bottom that you collect possibly some of the gold, which could be in the liquid or in the bottom of the jar. And then leave it. And then you see if you create gold. That gold is a conversion of the energy into matter. This is the dream of the scientists for centuries. Because now you work in a plasmatic condition. The gas, even being in the glass, being in the water, is absorbing energy from the environment. And if that energy from the environment, which is mainly cosmic rays, mainly, we absorb huge amount of cosmic ray across our body. If we create a right filter, we create the matter state. So you create a condition and then check. It'll be very interesting. Come back and show it to us next week. Or those of you who have created a bone or phosphor or platinum or silver or whatever, go through this process. Put your ganses, wash it thoroughly, get all the matter states out. Don't go to the bottom of the pot because you bring it back out again. Repeat this 2 or 3 times and then leave it. Leave the container. You're sure there is nothing when you start, and then see in a few days time, in a few weeks time, you start seeing matter state. And then if you use gold, you see gold.